Etan Patz was born on October 9, 1972, in Soho, New York City. On the morning of May 25, 1979, 6-year-old Etan left his home to walk to school. This was the very first morning he was walking to school by himself. He was going to walk 2 blocks to board a school bus at West Broadway and Prince Street. He never made it to the bus. Etan's teacher at his school noticed that he was absent, but did not report it to the principal or his parents. It was only when Etan did not return home after school that his mother Julie called the police to report him missing. The detectives at first believed that the Patz family could be responsible for the disappearance of Etan, but quickly determined that they had no involvement at all. An extensive search for Etan was then launched. Nearly 100 police officers and a team of bloodhounds got involved in the search. The search continued for weeks, but there was no sign of Etan anywhere. Police and neighbors canvassed the neighborhood and spread missing child posters, but no useful leads were forthcoming. Etan's father Stanley was a professional photographer. He had plenty of photos that he had taken of Etan. These photos were printed and countless missing child posters were made. Etan was also one of the first missing children to appear on a milk carton. His face and information about his disappearance were even projected on screens in Times Square. 6 years after Etan was last seen in 1985, Assistant United States Attorney Stuart R. Gerboy received the case and identified Jose Antonio Ramos as the prime suspect in Etan's case. Ramos was a convicted child abuser. He was also a friend of Etan's former babysitter. In 1982, multiple boys had accused Ramos of trying to lure them into a drain pipe. When police searched the drain pipe, they found photographs of Ramos and young boys who resembled Etan. When Stuart Gerboy interviewed Ramos, he stated that on the day Etan was last seen, he took a boy to his apartment to violate him. Ramos claims that it was the same boy he saw later on television. He never used Etan's name. Ramos also claims that he left the boy on the subway. In 1991, while Ramos was incarcerated for a different crime, a jailhouse informant told Stuart and FBI agent Mary Galligan that Ramos had told him he knew what had happened to Etan. Ramos was even able to draw a map of Etan's school bus route, indicating that he knew that Etan's bus stop was the 3rd on the route. Despite Ramos being the prime suspect and having evidence against him, he was never charged in connection to the case. On May 25, 2010, Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. officially reopened the case. Then, on April 19, 2012, the FBI and the New York Police Department began evacuating the basement of a home near where Etan lived. At the time he disappeared, this residence had been newly refurbished. The basement had been the workshop and storage space of a handyman. After a 4-day search in the basement, investigators announced that there was nothing conclusive found. On May 24, 2012, New York Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly announced that a man was in custody who had implicated himself in Etan's disappearance. The man is 51-year-old Pedro Hernandez, who lived in Maple Shade, New Jersey. Hernandez confessed to strangling Etan. At the time of Etan's disappearance, Hernandez was an 18-year-old convenience store worker. We know that Etan had $1 and told his parents he planned to buy a soda to drink with his lunch, so it's very possible that Etan and Hernandez's path crossed that fateful morning. Hernandez claims that after he strangled Etan, he threw his remains into the garbage. Despite investigators having no physical evidence to back up his confession, he was charged with the crime. Hernandez's family member Ann Thomas Riviera, the leader of the charismatic Christian group, then told investigators that Hernandez publicly confessed in the early 1980s in the church that he had taken the life of Etan. Hernandez was diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder, which includes hallucinations. He also had an IQ of around 70, meaning he is on the borderline of intellectual disability. On April 18, 2017, Hernandez was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after serving at least 25 years. No reason has ever been given as to why Hernandez took Etan's life. Etan's body has also never been found. The extensive media attention given to Etan's disappearance has been credited with creating greater attention to missing children, resulting in changes such as less willingness to allow children to walk to school, photos of missing children being printed on milk cartons, and promotion of the concept of stranger danger. The idea that all adults not known to the child must be regarded as potential sources of danger. "17-year-old Krystal Bezlanowitch lived in Salt Lake City, Utah with her boyfriend Chris in 1995. On December 14th, Krystal told Chris that she was going to grab some food at a local Circle K store. She never returned home. Around 11 p.m., Chris started getting worried, so he went to the Circle K to look for her. She was nowhere to be seen. The next morning at 8:40 a.m., nearly 45 miles away from Salt Lake City, a rancher and his son found the body of a young female. The rancher then called the police to report what he had found. Investigators that arrived on the scene saw that the victim had been hit by a rock. Nothing was found at the crime scene that could help identify the victim or the person responsible for taking her life. The victim had 2 distinct tattoos. Police sketched the tattoos and sent it to the media. Krystal's boyfriend then saw this and immediately realized the victim was her. Chris was at the top of the suspect list, but he lacked the motive and the means. He was financially dependent on Krystal. He also didn't have a car. A few days after Krystal's body was found, investigators learned about a taxi driver named Herb Fry, who was infatuated with Krystal. Herb was once quoted as saying that if he can't have her, nobody can. There was, however, no evidence linking him to the crime. In 2008, forensic scientists were able to extract DNA from blood found at the crime scene. The DNA did not match Krystal's boyfriend or Herb Fry. In 2013, when DNA was a little bit more advanced, they were able to create a full DNA profile. They submitted it to the Combined DNA Index system. It matched the DNA of Joseph Michael Simpson. On September 29, 2016, Simpson was found guilty of taking Krystal's life. It was not the first time he had ended someone's life. He was frustratingly out on parole when he came across Krystal. He was sentenced to life in prison. Simpson is currently in Central Utah Correctional Facility.